Hello. As you're watching this talk, some of you will be sat in your office, many of you will be at home, and some might even be out and about watching this on a phone. I want you all to stop for a moment and take a look around you. What do you see? Look at all the objects around you and think about what it took to make them. I'm guessing that most, if not all of them, were made possible by semiconductors. The books on your shelf were written, edited, typeset, and printed using computers. You probably ordered some of them online. Many of the photos around your home were snapped on digital cameras or phones and printed on digital printers. Everything from the toothbrush that you hopefully used this morning to the pen you might have in your hand right now to take notes from this talk were designed on a computer. Now, your car wasn't just designed using semiconductors, it was safety tested inside the mind of a supercomputer and assembled with the help of robots. And cars have become a powerful computing platform in their own right. Many cars have 50 or more computing systems that manage the engine, all the safety systems, climate control, the snazzy driver support functions that we get these days, the entertainment system, and so on. With self-driving on the horizon, IHS Markit expects automotive semiconductor sales to increase fivefold by 2040. My point is this: semiconductors have changed the world, yet most consumers have no understanding of the extensive role that silicon plays in their daily lives. And I believe we're only just getting started. I expect that digital technology will bring more change to our lives in the next decade than we have experienced in the last 40 or 50 years combined. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to explain why. My name is Steve Brown, and I was proud to work in the semiconductor industry for over 30 years. I was lucky enough to be Intel's chief evangelist and one of their two futurists working in Intel labs to model the future roughly 10 years out. Now, I'm an independent futurist, and I speak, write, and consult on technology innovation, the future of work, and how tech will transform entire industries in the coming decade. Today, I want to talk about how technology will continue to transform business and explain why I believe the semiconductor industry has a truly extraordinary opportunity to keep changing the world and to keep changing it for the better. In the near term, I expect businesses in every sector to fast-track their embrace of digital technology. COVID-19 is, after all, the great accelerator. Quite a few of my clients are already dusting off their 3 to 5 year business plans and asking, how can we implement these plans today, this year? And that's because businesses with more mature digital capabilities and channels have proven to be far more resilient in the face of pandemic. Digital stores don't get crowded, remote employees can keep working, and robots don't get sick. So to remain relevant, all businesses will need to offer a customer journey that is 100% digital, end to end, all the way from start to finish. And wherever possible, businesses want to enable their employees to work remotely now by moving all enterprise systems up into the cloud. And they're not just doing that to respond to COVID, but so they can attract the best talent from anywhere on the planet. Incidentally, the cloud will continue to be a huge consumer of semiconductors as everything becomes a service and as 5G and satellite networks make it possible to connect everything and everyone everywhere. As well as being an accelerator, COVID is the great defroster, defrosting entire industries. Organizations that were frozen in place due to tradition, regulation, risk aversion, or good old-fashioned complacency are suddenly being forced to embrace change, digital change. Schools are delivering lessons online. Teachers have learned more about ways to engage and educate kids remotely in the last few months than Silicon Valley figured out in perhaps the last couple of decades, and that's great. I expect education to retain a significant digital component long after COVID has faded into our memory banks. Similarly, in healthcare, telehealth visits have shot through the roof as people flee the cofferama of the doctor's office waiting room. In the northeastern United States, telehealth visits rose over 15,000% in March alone. And Forrester Research expects we might see over 1 billion telehealth visits in 2020. This pandemic presents operational challenges for many businesses, and we here in the technology industry can help. Change agents inside organizations are empowered, and necessity is now the mother of digital innovation. Let's take advantage of that, help people out. In the medium and longer term, we're going to see a ton of investment in innovation. To remain competitive and even to remain relevant going forward, every organization, without exception, will need to drive technology innovation into every aspect of their business and to invest a higher percentage of their revenues into digital transformation. Businesses will drive innovation into products and services, to develop new channels that reach new customers and new markets, to enhance the experience for their workers and elevate talent, to streamline operations and business processes, and finally, to develop entirely new business models and revenue streams along the way. Even traditional laggards like construction, agriculture, healthcare, and education will go through dramatic transformation. Now, why is that? It's because a set of 6 relatively new technologies will dramatically expand the set of business problems that have digital solutions. When compared with what I would now call traditional digital capabilities, namely PCs, the internet, mobile and cloud, these 6 technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchains, augmented reality, the Internet of Things and sensors, autonomous machines, and 5G will, for the first time, enable companies to solve many of their challenges. Innovators will combine these 6 powerful technologies, much like artists combine colors from their palette, to deliver and drive incredible levels of innovation and to solve many new real-world business problems. Each of these 6 technologies can be used to drive innovation across every aspect of an organization's business. And the intersection between each technology and a high-level business goal offers an opportunity for innovation. So if you look at this matrix, if this tool looks like it might be useful to you as a way to help think yourself and your clients through this, you can download the innovation matrix in the form of an easy-to-use PDF. Just visit my website, boldfuturist.com, and sign up to my mailing list, and you can grab a copy of that PDF. Many of my clients find it a really useful tool, and I hope that you will too. Now, to frame the scale of the opportunity ahead for all of us, I want to take the next few minutes to share some quick stories about incredible innovation. Vocalis Health is an Israeli startup focused on the future of healthcare, and they work with the Mayo Clinic to develop an AI that can hear disease in your voice. They've discovered vocal biomarkers that indicate coronary artery disease, chronic heart failure, COPD, and sleep apnea. Today, the company is racing to develop a new vocal diagnostic, one for COVID-19. And beyond that, they're optimistic that in the not too distant future, they may be able to hear diabetes, hypertension, and even cancer in the sound of your voice. Think about that. Just imagine the potential for early detection of disease and how many lives that could save. And this is just one of many breakthrough AI-based diagnostic tools that will aid clinicians and transform healthcare in the coming years. Now to robotics. Next generation robotics use machine vision, artificial intelligence, and sophisticated sensors to offload a variety of backbreaking, repetitive, boring, and dangerous tasks from humans. And the latest robots can now pick fruit, hang drywall, and even wrangle cattle. And a new class of robots called cobots, collaborative robots, are designed specifically to work safely alongside and in partnership with humans. An example, SAM 100 is a masonry robot working in partnership with a human who still needs to strike the mortar and keep the robot fed with bricks. But SAM 100 can lay 6 times as many bricks in a day as even a highly experienced human bricklayer. Swiss company Robotics has built a solar-powered agricultural robot that finds and then zaps weeds all day long. It's really cool. By aiming a small squirt of herbicide at each individual weed, it uses up to 90% less chemicals than traditional spraying techniques. That's great news for the environment and for the farmer's budget. Oh, I guess not such great news for Dow Chemical, but that's okay. Technology will automate some tasks and some jobs, let's be clear on that. But for most workers, technology will augment our work, boost our capabilities, and give us superpowers. First, which is a real estate startup, uses AI to boost a real estate agent's intuition. It helps them to predict which of their former clients are most likely to be in the market for a new home, and it's surprisingly accurate. Propertunity and Skyline, 2 real estate investment companies, the former focused on residential market, the latter on commercial property, they both use AI to predict which properties will offer them the greatest growth potential and thus the best financial returns. They have built their entire business model around prediction and using AI to augment their employees' investment sense. Computer-aided design company Autodesk is using AI to augment a very different set of skills. Autodesk turbocharged many of their tools with AI-based generative design capabilities. Now, generative design is able to boost the imagination and creativity of designers, architects, and engineers by essentially kind of riffing on the original design and offering hundreds or even thousands of alternatives that the designer can then pick from. Designers who use these tools report they're not only more productive, they say the tools let them explore a much broader creative space, and the resulting designs, which are a collaboration now between a human and an AI, are far better than the designer could have come up with on their own. More beautiful, lighter weight, stronger, better tensile strength, cheaper to build, and so on. These examples of human skill augmentation hint at the next gigantic opportunity for the technology sector. The next era of computing, spatial computing, will combine augmented reality, voice, gesture, sensors, 5G, and autonomous machines into an entirely new work experience. Today, 80% of people work with their hands or in fast-moving mobile environments. Think retail workers, surgeons, construction workers, farmers, maintenance, manufacturing, and so on. Traditional computing, just doesn't work for these people. And the opportunity to offer computing for the rest of us is enormous. I believe that the future of work is augmented work, where technology elevates human capabilities, expands our reach, mitigates for our weaknesses, and adapts automatically to our needs. Augmented work will fundamentally change our relationship with tools, something that's been going on for thousands of years. Tools will move from being subordinate, like a hammer or a word processor, into a more collaborative relationship with us, almost like electronic co-workers. And the result is that we will become hybrid workers, a collaboration between human and machine intelligence, combining human experience with the incredible capabilities of the cloud, human dexterity with robotic stamina and strength. Incidentally, that means your CHRO and your CIO just became best friends, because they will now preside over a hybrid workforce of humans and machines working together. Hybrid workers will show up in many forms. You're going to see exoskeletons and cobots that will improve our strength and endurance. AI will augment our creativity, our intuition, and boost our decision-making skills. Digital personal assistants will run our errands for us. And robots and drones will project our physicality through space. This brings us to our next story about the Dawn Avatar Cafe. This Japanese cafe is populated by cute little robot servers. But these robots aren't controlled by AIs as you might expect. They're remotely operated by 10 employees, all of whom have severe physical disabilities that keep them bedbound at home all the time. The robots empower the cafe's employees to work despite their challenges, and importantly, to interact with other humans on a regular basis. This opportunity has considerably improved their quality of life, their happiness, and their self-worth. Great project. Seattle-based DroneSeed wants to mitigate the threat of climate change by making reforestation scalable. How? Well, using drones. Clue is kind of in the company's name all along. DroneSeed. Swarms of semi-autonomous drones reseed land from the air. And DroneSeed claims their approach is 6 times faster than a human tree planter and can propagate 40 acres of land in a single day. It's going to get better too. With advances in AI, full autonomy, and swarming technology, in the future, these drones could have a dramatic impact on our efforts to restore healthy ecosystems around the planet. Many people only associate blockchain technology with cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin. But blockchains and other distributed ledger technologies can remove friction from transactions, they can democratize investments and loans, decentralize the creation of value, and automate some business processes. Blockchains may ultimately revolutionize the mortgage, payment, healthcare, energy trading, government services, and the insurance industry. I'll give you an example. InsureWave is a collaboration between EY, Guardtime, shipping giant Moller-Maersk, and insurers including Accord and Willis Towers Watson. They use blockchains to underwrite ships and their cargo. And they have premium prices that are dynamic. They change based on a ship's location and current safety conditions. So if a captain takes a shortcut through a big storm or a war zone, the insurance premiums reflect that in real time. Really interesting model. Thanks again to blockchains, supply chains are also getting a major makeover. And they're being used to improve the traceability and to increase the transparency of goods moving through the supply chain. Increasingly, consumers want to know far more about the products that they buy. We want to know that things are safe, that they weren't made using child labor, that the companies we buy from operate responsibly and have fair trade practices, for example. We want to know how much energy, water, and other precious resources were used to make the things that we buy, and how much was used to transport things to us, and what environmental damage was done in the process. Provenance supply chains that track all this information and make it available to brands and consumers alike will help everyone to make more informed and better purchase decisions. Think about that for a moment though. By increasing transparency in our supply chains, semiconductors could play a vital role in efforts to stamp out child labor, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and to ensure that food is safe to eat. These stories from the world of medicine, real estate, engineering design, agriculture, hospitality, forestry, insurance, and supply chains hopefully illustrate that new semiconductor-based technology has incredible potential to solve some really big human challenges. You can find more detail on all those stories and many, many more besides in my latest book. This is a shameless plug, The Innovation Ultimatum, How 6 Strategic Technologies Will Reshape Every Business in the 2020s. The book explores each of those 6 technologies in detail and then explains how they can be used to reshape industries and how they will forever change the future of work. So think of it as a how-to guide for leaders on digital transformation in the 2020s. Even if Moore's Law stopped dead in its tracks tomorrow, our industry will still ship more transistors in just the next few years than in all of human history. The question is, what problems will we choose to try and solve with those sextillions of transistors? Historically, improvements in productivity and efficiency have been the bread and butter of the tech industry. And those 2 business goals are still valid and important, and new technology will continue to offer us benefit there. But what else can technology do? Could we set our sights higher? What human challenges could we focus our efforts on next? How could we use semiconductor technology to lift people up, to connect people more meaningfully with other people, to improve our health and our well-being, to make life more equitable, to elevate work and make it more rewarding and meaningful for people, to free people's creativity and imagination, to give people more control over their lives, over their data and their privacy, to make the digital world more secure and transactions more trustworthy, to help people learn and grow in entirely new ways, to make the previously impossible possible. When I started at Intel in 1985, the entire semiconductor industry made in a year what Apple now makes in 1 month. Today, the $500 billion semiconductor sector lifts every other industry up on its shoulders and quietly makes modern life possible. Without semiconductors, there would be no ride sharing, no e-commerce, no video conferencing, no streaming media, no smartphones, no video games, no internet. But on the plus side, I guess there would have been no Furbies, so I suppose there's that. Semiconductors have brought incredibly good things to billions of people on the planet. And yet half the planet remains unconnected, and a billion children still live in poverty. This decade, satellite constellations are going to bring a broadband internet signal to every corner of Earth. Now, how can we use that to break through and do good in the world? To develop relevant services that enhance the lives of the next 4 billion people to come online? Put another way, what will you do to serve your next 4 billion customers? As we reflect on 50 years of Semicon and look forward to where we go from here, I think there are 2 questions we must ask ourselves as an industry. Question 1, what is the world that we want to build next? Question 2, what is the world that we want to avoid? As I look at what will be possible in the coming decade, I could not be more excited about either our industry's prospects or the opportunity we have to make things better for people. The world is counting on us to improve people's lives in myriad ways. So let's set our sights high and make the inventors and the luminaries who founded and then built this great semiconductor industry proud of what we achieved together. Thanks for your time.